This landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico. The rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazil was the man who discovered the saucer.
What I thought was a star began coming in my direction at a very rapid rate of speed.
The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river.
UFO classified. UFO classified. No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Welcome to UFO Classified. I'm Erica Lukes. Always happy to be here and to see my friends in chat. Gordon, Doug, Joe, of course, Northern UFOs, JC, all of you, Lib. I really appreciate your support and your kindness. We have a cohesive community here, and each of you is doing your part to help me spread the information. I had an exciting week on multiple levels, but one of them, really a highlight of my week, was receiving a beautiful handwritten letter from the UK from an artist by the name of David Dane. He sent me some of his artwork, a beautiful brochure, and he is a renowned artist in the UK. He saw me on one of my UFO TV shows. I think it was UFOs, the Lost Evidence, and he was moved and wanted to reach out to me. And so when I receive things like that, people really take the time to communicate and share bits about their life with me. That means the world, and that is really, really, really why I am here. Over last weekend, I wasn't here. There was a pre-recorded show, and I missed all of you in chat, but I was up near Skinwalker Ranch doing what I do best, which is getting in there, doing field research, and then I also did a 2-hour, in my opinion, groundbreaking interview with Junior Hicks, who is 91 years old now, but he is the man who single-handedly cataloged over 700 sightings reports in the Uinta Basin, and without him, no one would know about Skinwalker Ranch. He was in contact with and met with Jacques Vallée several times during the 60s, and also wrote a great book called The Utah UFO Displayer, helped write that with Dr. Frank Salisbury. If you don't have that book, it's important that you read that, because that truly is the backbone. That's where all of the Skinwalker lore comes from. I want to also tell you I did some field research, and what I witnessed near the ranch was, I was telling my guest tonight before the show started, it still leaves me absolutely, I think, tongue-tied. It was, I'm in awe of what I saw. I'm still trying to process what I saw. I am doing work with people that can help me. They've got cameras in other locations, so we're going to be verifying that there were specific events taking place that I was witness to along with the person I was with, and have this extensively analyzed. I also sent some of my photos to Erling Strand over in Norway to get his feedback, and we'll be revealing some of those results. But it was absolutely stunning. So I look forward to sharing that with you. I also have some exciting news that I believe, keep your fingers crossed, that I've obtained funding for my documentary. So I will get footage out, and I want to go out and interview Gordon and Jan and Barry and get them all in the documentary. My guests this evening are two people that are really the forefathers of this. They are people who have been in this subject and made a difference for decade after decade. They were in there when all of the things were taking place in the 60s, specifically with Nicap. There's questions swirling around about the government infiltration, specifically the CIA at Nicap, When Gordon Lohr was on my show last time, he mentioned this, but now our colleague, my mentor, Barry Greenwood, spent a couple weeks out at the Center for UFO Studies headquarters. He was scanning files, and we believe there will be more coming to light, which will be intriguing. But I wanted these two gentlemen on because of their historical perspective. I also want to celebrate Gordon Lohr's new book, Flying Saucers from Beyond the Earth, a UFO Researcher's Odyssey. I am here with author, researcher Gordon Lohr, and then my friend Jan Aldrich, who is a researcher and has Project 1947, a great resource for all of you. And gentlemen, I am so excited to have you here. This is really a historic moment to have both of you talking and sharing your time together at the same organization. So welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Erica. I'm happy to be on again with you, indeed.
I am too. And Gordon, congratulations on your book. You said you have it right in your hand. And I want to tell
got it today. Very timely.
Wow, congratulations.
Looking great. It really is. So I'm happy to share it with you guys.
Well, we're happy to. And I want to tell people you can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, a few other places to get this. And you can also get Bearman Media, is that right? .com?
Yeah, it's they can also get it at www.bearmedia.com, www.bearmanormedia.com. They can order it through the publisher as well.
Great.
It's also on Barnes & Noble and Amazon and a few others, but I haven't gotten elsewhere it's coming from. So.
Well, and this is wonderful. You've written several books in your career. Some had to do with UFOs, specifically one that I have in my archive, my library now, called Strange Effects from UFOs, which was a Nicap special report.
Yeah, that's
and
right. Yeah,
chief researcher.
And Mysteries of the Skies, yeah.
Yes, Mysteries of the Skies.
Yeah, 3 of them are about UFOs, 3 are not, but yeah, yes, indeed.
Well,
I've written thousands of articles on UFOs over the years, but just 3 books.
And in Mysteries in the Sky, of the Skies, I've got UFOs in Perspective I've got right in front of me. And this is the first fully documented history of UFOs taken directly from the files of the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena. And yes. I would encourage anybody who can get their hands on this to get this book.
It's been for years, ever since its publication on eBay and Amazon. I don't know where else it would be, but I'm sure it's out there. It's still out there.
Well, that's wonderful. And Jan, how are you doing? What's up in your world?
Okay. I really like to ask Gordon something.
Sure. Nice to be with you, Jan.
He didn't quit his UFO business. He continued on with UFO research.
Yeah, I had my own group, UFO Research Associates, for the next 10 years, from 70 to 80. True. And that's what the book is mainly about.
I looked at the newsletter, and there's a lot of sightings before Arnold in the newsletters, and I just wonder if that is material that maybe you had for the book, but it wouldn't fit in, or just stuff
before
that came to you over the
Arnold?
years.
Yeah, I have all that in my first book, Mysteries of the Skies. It's the first book ever about the historical aspects of UFOs, going back several centuries before the Arnold sighting in June of 1947. But
Right.
I don't have any of that really in my new book. That wasn't the purpose of it. The purpose of the new book was covering my years with Nicap and U4.
And
I was just wondering if the spillover into UFO newsletter was because you had more material than you could put in the book.
Okay, what spillover were you talking about, though, specifically?
Oh, there were several of them. One was in the 1880s, I think, in Pittsburgh, and the UFO came across the river and did a right angle turn, and I'm saying, you know, that's one I never read before, and that was really, it was really interesting to see that, and there was a number of others. Some World War II type ones, and one in Canada, in 1945, I think it was in Ontario, and it was after the war was over, but it was still in 1945, and
yeah, you got me on that. Are you sure you read it in my newsletter?
Yeah, I've just looked at it. So I just kind of not amazed or astounded, but it was really.
Yeah, well, I had one in my book. I have in
you had some really good stuff in that. That newsletter was really.
Well, thank you. I have another one coming out in just a few days as well. So, but there was one that I had. I think it's in my new book as well. But there was one from the 17th century in Massachusetts. A guy was going up a stream in his barge. It was a barge where you had to have a long stick or pole and navigate your way up the river. When he saw this UFO come down, this disc come right down, and it hovered right over him and then drew him and his barge up the river, which was an amazing case. It was back around 1638 or something like that. And I even went to the National Archives one time and got material for my book, Mysteries of the Skies. And there was one case of a 19th century whaling captain who was out in the middle of the ocean, and this is directly from his log, his handwritten log, where he saw this disc come down, enter the water, come back up, expunge the water, and then fly up at a tremendous speed and disappeared. And that was long before the Wright brothers, you know.
And that's incredible. And I'm looking forward to reading the book, and I want to, because there are some new listeners out there, and I want to give them a bit of background. And if both of you would respond to this, I would like to know specifically when you began researching and what your role was at Nicap and the time you served. So, Jan, if you'd start us off, that would be great.
Well, I was just a member, so I started out when I was in high school. Actually, when I was still in junior high, I was 59. I got interested. I read Ruppelt, and after that, I read Keogh, and then I joined Nicap. So when I was in high school, I was in Nicap, and I was just a member. So I wasn't anything special.
And your volume keeps going in and out. So I'm not sure if you can maybe talk closer to the phone so we can hear you. I'm not sure what's happening, just to let you know.
Okay, I'll try it. How's this?
Perfect,
Is this
perfect,
better?
perfect.
That's better. I can hear you better.
So I visited Nicap. My father wanted to take me around to historical places around Washington with my sister, and so I stopped off at. He left me off at Nicap for an afternoon, and I just made Dick Hall's life a living hell. I asked him question after question.
So what year was that, Jed? It sounds like it was before I came on board.
Yeah, it was. It was quite a bit before then.
Right.
It was 1961, so that's when I met Dick.
Get there till 65. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So over the years, I made 12 visits to Nicap.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. So, and some of them were, a month or a couple of weeks, and try to do volunteer work and help out and do research and send it down there. Blocher inspired me to do newspaper research like he was doing.
Ted Blocher, yeah. Yeah,
so
Ted was on our staff for a couple of years.
Yes. And excellent person.
Yes, indeed.
He and Isabel inspired me to.
Isabel Davis, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know Ted was a prominent dancer on Broadway and in musicals?
Yes, he was. Yeah, he was in touring companies. That's how he was able to do some of his research. He went from city to city to city, and when he was
that's true too.
During the day, he went to the libraries and did research. Yeah, that's. And that's what I said.
You're still fading out, Jan. Can you hear him, Erica?
No, Jan, your signal is a little weak, and so I'm not sure if you're close to the receiver on your cell phone.
Yeah, I'm about as close as I can get right now.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that on break. But I know that there's so much more about everything and the people, Isabel Davis, Ted, all of these incredible people that you met. But I want to go to Gordon just to give the audience a little bit of background before we head to our first break. Okay. So, Gordon, talk about how you got involved in Nicap.
How I got involved? Well, I got involved through, first of all, I had 3 sightings in my home, all near my home on the Chesapeake Bay in southern Maryland. And then I happened to moved to Washington, D.C. in 1962, and I'll tell you a funny story about how I got involved with Nicap. But I became, in the 60s, a folk singer, because I was studying at the Peabody Conservatory of Music in Baltimore. And I was a folk singer in Washington, D.C., and in a coffee house called The Unicorn. And I was playing a song that I wrote, based on a poem by Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes called "The Pedigreed Piddlin' Pup and 10 Piddles in a Puddle." And I sang the song. Actually, Peter, Paul, and Mary was there in the audience, and he applauded, and the rest of the audience applauded. But Dick Hall was there, and I didn't know it. And then after that, he invited me to his apartment. And we got along so famously right that evening that he hired me that night to be a staff member at Nicap. And that was early in 1965. That's how I got started. And as I say, I had 3 sightings of my own, which I can briefly go over. But it was onward and upward after that.
And what an interesting set of circumstances. And that's what I love about all of this. It's this series of synchronicities and events when you meet people, and it all leads down this wonderful, bewildering path. It's truly been a blessing. But there's a younger generation out there that doesn't understand the importance or what Nicap accomplished. And they probably don't understand anybody, Dick Hall, the people that were involved. And so please tell us, both of you, I would like to know why you think Nicap was so important and what people need to remember.
Well, I think at the time it was the largest and most respected UFO organization in the world at that time. And of course, Kehoe, as you know, wrote the very first book and article on the subject in 1950, since written 4 more books. Last one was in 1973. But he was known back then, and still is to some people, as Mr. UFO, the man that started it all. And he was also the man, of course, who headed the nationwide tour of Charles Lindbergh in 1927, following his historic flight from New York to Paris. And he told me about that when I visited him in Luray, Virginia. I have that in the book as well. But so I joined the staff in 1965, and from there on I was a staff member, then later became assistant director, then vice president after Dick Hall left about 67, although Dick came back periodically on a part-time basis. And but Kehoe, I think, was both Kehoe and Hall were actually mentors to me, particularly in the UFO field, but they taught me so much, and to this day I miss them both, I'll tell you. So that's how I got started. But
I love that. And this is so important, and we're right at the edge of losing all of this knowledge because, and I want to just throw this in there. We've got this new generation who've taken over the field with their delusional thinking and the secret space program and, jump rooms on here and there. And there's so much absolute garbage. And they're younger people trying to learn as much as they can. And the history and the lessons that all of you learned are going to be forgotten unless we really kick it up a notch. And that's why your timing is excellent with the book. And we'll keep doing what we do. And then I'll keep sharing, Jan's important work with Project 1947.
Good. I did want to say, though, Fran Ridge has done a marvelous job at recreating Nicap through his website and his wonderful team of investigators who are really, I think the ghost of Kehoe is looking down with pride on that. So, and Jan Aldrich has been very much a part of it, and so has Barry Greenwood and many others. Yeah.
And that's been such a blessing for me to meet all of you. I mean, I just, every day I'm learning something new, and I'm in awe. And because of you, Jan, because of Barry, and Keith Chester, I now have a beautiful, beautiful archive where people are coming from Utah to learn about the history. And so I love this. And Jan, what are your, I know, thank you. And Jan, what are your thoughts on why Nicap is so important and why people need to remember this?
Well, it wasn't the first organization, but I think Kehoe said it in his book. A staff would catch mistakes that a lone wolf would make. That's exactly it. I mean, he was getting peppered with stuff from all over the country. It was too much for one person.
Exactly.
They needed staff, and they needed people to go out and investigate. And it took years to get a good investigation network going. But one person just can just do so much. You need people. So you needed an organization that could and even Nicap at its height, when it had almost 16 people, it wasn't enough.
I think we had like 13 at the most, and then it was down to one person and me at the very end. And of course, Kehoe and I were unceremoniously ejected at the end of 1969. So,
and that's a story I want to get into because I think that's really important. How you felt, Gordon, specifically, that people involved in intelligence infiltrated Nicap and then ousted you, and then eventually the downfall of Nicap in that version. We'll talk about that.
To tell you about that.
Absolutely. And we're going to go to break right now, but we will be right back. I'm here with Gordon Lohr and Jan Aldrich, two heroes of mine. You can get Gordon's new book, Flying Saucers from Beyond the Earth, The UFO Researcher's Odyssey, on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble. We will be right back.
Stand by. This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes. The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified with Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
Here's what happened on the last episode of Three Guys, No Ties.
Yes, sir. Did either one of you watch America's Got Talent?
No.
When? Yesterday.
No. Last week, but not this week.
They had this couple on, and they were quick change artists. And the girl's standing there in a dress, they pull it up and drop it, and she's got a different outfit on. And I know These people have to be witches.
3 Guys, No Ties. Wednesday nights, 7 to 9 Pacific on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is your captain. I'd like to welcome you on Jackpot Airlines Flight 1610, service to Lost Wages.
They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, apparently, they need a reality check done Vegas style.
Vegas, 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 Vegas!
Tune in Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, for Reality Check, hosted by Jessica Johns, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Biggest star in the world, bigger than Britney and Christina put together.
If it's happening on the Vegas Strip, you'll know about it here first.
You are a dirty little fun haver.
Join Jessica Johns as she explores and goes behind the scenes of what's hot and what's not. From the best entertainment Vegas has to offer to national celebrity gossip.
That's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Jessica has her finger on the heartbeat of the city, and she's waiting to share it with you. Reality Check, hosted by Jessica Johns. Wednesday, 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern. She does Vegas right.
Yeah, baby!
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug's adoption story started at a shelter. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
One of the planet's most powerful antioxidant products is here for you to enjoy. Chaga Mushroom Tea. This tea has been used as a potent natural health solution for thousands of years. In fact, the Chinese call it King of the Herbs. The health value alone is worth a look, as Chaga Mushroom Tea packs a punch with pure vitality and smooth energy. It's 100% wild crafted, safe, and effective. Get it now at arcticchaga.com. That's ARCTICCHAGA.com, or call 916-969-2678. That's 916-969-2678. Chaga Mushroom Tea. Chaga Mushroom Tea. Order your supply today.
It's great! I think it's great. It's great.
The all-new KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Great. Make a note of it. It's great!
You're listening to UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts!
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
Welcome back and happy Fantopia Friday. I'm Erica Lukes. Always happy to be starting off the evening on KCOR. I want to give a shout out to Willie Miranda, who is up next. So stick around for his show after mine. And then we've got Tina Marie and Solaris Blue Raven, a great night on KCOR. Again, thank you to all of my listeners from all over the world. You are getting good information, and I spend hours upon hours each week researching the topic and the guests that I am bringing on. These are not people that have nothing to offer. These are people that have incredibly important information that needs to be shared. So let's get the word out. I am here tonight with Gordon Lohr, who began his professional writing editing career as Vice President, Assistant Director, and Secretary Treasurer of the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, known as Nicap, which is what we were talking about, and also with Jen Aldrich, who has done incredible research and preservation. He has a website, Project 1947. You can go read about history, everything that he has done. He served with the United States Army with over 25 years in field artillery and 7 overseas tours, and has 16 years experience in meteorology, with the remaining time in intelligence personnel and safety positions. So 2 great gentlemen who have contributed immensely to the field. And when we left off, Jan, you were talking a little bit about Nicap. Could you continue that for us?
Right. I understand this thing about the CIA. I can't really talk about that because, like I said, I was only a visitor. And so every once in a while I was there. I remember one story about 1965 when Berliner was still there, Don Berliner,
right.
And he told me, he said they had two guys come over from the CIA.
And they did, and Dick Hall showed them all the files too.
Well, they wanted they just wanted, like, they were guys off the street. Berliner said,
I know.
I mean, it was no problem to identify who they were. He said they were two guys off the street. They were trying to be like they were two guys off the street, and we want a copy of the UFO evidence, which they got a couple of copies of the UFO evidence.
Right.
They told me later on they came to see Dick Hall, and they identified themselves as CIA, and they said they wanted to do a background investigation on him so that he could be briefed on something.
I had heard that too. I didn't get any confirmation.
Dick told me, he said he never got briefed on anything, and he put in a FOIA for his investigation, and the CIA denied it. They would not release it. So
yeah, but Kehoe also hired Stuart Nixon, and he had CIA convictions. I was trying to convince Hall and Kehoe of that, but they didn't think that was the case. So,
if anybody,
but he practically
was a CIA
admitted
agent,
it
I believe it was Nixon.
Yeah, that's right. He was. And remember, he got on the first week he was there. He said, "Gordon, I'm coming here to help you guys through the rough times." And I says, "What do you mean, Nixon?" And Stuart. Then he drew back, didn't say anymore. And then he told me this fantastic story about how Carl Flock, who was the CIA photographer at the time, got shot down. He was a member of the CIA. He told me he got shot down in Vietnam and had to be rescued. And Nixon was doing all he could to come out and say, "I'm with the CIA, but I can't talk about it." And yet he kept talking about it, but in a sort of undercover way. I tried to tell Kehoe that. He wouldn't buy it, and even Dick didn't think that was the case. So, but guess who took over Nicap right away? Who became the director for a while? Stuart Nixon, after Kehoe and I were fired in '69.
Well, I came and visited it before they left Connecticut Avenue. Nixon was the only one there. Him and his girlfriend.
That's right. Yeah.
And
And that was about what, 71, 72, something like that.
Yeah, I think it might have been early '72.
Right. Yeah.
And I was talking to him, and I couldn't, I couldn't believe it. Everything is lack-a-day with him. It was lack-a-day.
Oh, yeah. I love that when you email me how lack-a-day. I mean, he was so careless about things. It was like he just shoving papers around that, he didn't care where they landed. It was like, if he's a CIA agent, my God. Our intelligence thing is going to hell in a handbasket, as my father would say.
Dick Hall told me every time he gave him an assignment, he would look up, and Stuart was doing something else. He was not doing what he was told to do.
Yeah.
And he was always...
Or he would just look up... He would always look up in a
UFO
dazed
photographs.
Yeah. And he was adamantly against strange effects from UFOs. He said we shouldn't be promoting and publishing such stuff as these occupant cases and abduction cases and all. So he was put there to try to run Nicap down. I have no doubt. course, Colonel Joseph Bryan was a CIA operative. Dewey Fournay, who I was in contact with quite a bit, trying to get NICAP back on a financial footing. So the thing is, the question is, why did the CIA allow NICAP to go as long as it did? But they had an excuse for shutting it down, I guess.
So what was, obviously you look at the organization, the people that were involved, and a lot of them, like you were saying, had a background in intelligence. And so what was there? They were sitting there obviously collecting data, coming in, trying to monitor what all of you were doing. We know that was the case with APRO as well. What did they try? Do you feel that they tried to steer the narrative, or were they just simply trying to collect data or keep their eye on you?
I think all of the above. How much with each one, I'm not sure. I don't know. But of course, NICAP at the time was the world's largest, and we had perhaps the largest collection of cases. I think it amounted to about 13,000 maybe when the CIA really took it over in 1969, the end of '69. So we had a large number of those cases.
And so when you were gathering cases, witnesses were calling in or sending you handwritten letters, because obviously, the internet, it was not as easy to collect data back then, but you had.
No, we didn't have email and stuff then. No.
So if you were in intelligence, the only way to monitor, an organization like NICAP would be to be physically present at the location, or to bug your phones, which, Gordon, you mentioned on the last show that that happened to you.
No question, Arbone. I'll tell you the brief story about that. But one time, Kehoe and I were talking from his home in Luray, Virginia, and my phone in Washington, D.C. at NICAP headquarters. And we all of a sudden heard of a click. And then a voice came on. Somebody said, "Well, Major Quintanilla, it's Kehoe's outfit." And then another click. So, they were listening in on our conversation. And also my phone in Bethesda, Maryland, my home in Bethesda, was tapped as well, because something similar came on, and a colonel, I forget his last name, but he was talking about, and then this is Gordon Lohr's outfit or something like that. I don't know what he meant by that, but another click. And then Kehoe and I were together one time, and he says, "Well, Gordon, let's try something. Let's put out a totally fake case where a UFO lands, and there's EM effects and physiological effects and animal reactions, all like that, and see what happens, see if we see it anywhere." And sure enough, there was references to it in one of the, I think the Project Grudge Blue Book reports, but I haven't been able to find it anywhere. So, we were pretty well under the microscope of these people, probably right from the start to the end.
It's hard because you can go down the road of conspiracy theory or, all of these things, and there are people that do that on purpose to try to muddy the waters. And I see that every day with this, but in the same breath, there have been documents that have been obtained that specifically state that UFO organizations are to be infiltrated, and that was the protocol back in that time frame. And so,
of course, yeah. Although I didn't know it was that much with APRO, but apparently it was significant there as well.
Well, it's curious, and Jan, I know that you also have done. You've looked into this, and you don't feel maybe because you weren't physically there like Gordon was, but you are a little hesitant to make such a connection with intelligence monitoring the UFO community. Will you give us
I think they
your
were
insight?
monitoring. I think
Okay.
they were looking at the UFO community. I don't know if it was the CIA particularly.
You're fading out, John.
Okay. I don't know if it was the CIA particularly.
So who do you think it was, and what are your, other than
Charles Sheldon IV was a congressional aide. He was a counsel for one of the committees in 1960-61 that was going to possibly have hearings on UFOs. I have not seen anything that confirms that he was a CIA agent, but everybody tells me he was. He went from that position to one over at the Smithsonian, which, if you know, Fred Durant went to the Smithsonian. Now, Fred Durant definitely was a CIA agent. And he was also the president of the American Rocket Society. Anyways, Dick Hall, when he was looking for a job about 1969, he got a notice from the Smithsonian that there was a position open. So he went over there, and here's Charles Shelton IV, and he's saying, well, I have no position to offer you, Dick, but I just wanted to hear about the latest on UFOs. And I'm kind of thinking, well, they never asked Dick to give them a briefing, and I think they were getting it then.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, Dick never told me about it. Dick told me many things, but I didn't hear that from him, and that's very interesting. I'd like to find out more about that.
Sheldon was interviewed by McDonald.
Yeah, Jim McDonald.
He knew stuff about he was in Korea, and he knew about the radar pickups by the Navy. But, when McDonald asked him for specifics, he got kind of hesitant. He couldn't, I can't remember.
Who said I can't remember again?
Charles Shelton IV.
Oh, Charles. Okay.
Okay. He was talking to McDonald.
Yeah,
James
I
McDonald.
see. Yeah. As a matter of fact, Jim McDonald and I were together, and what they call in my home in Bethesda when the Condon report came out, and then. McDonald was telling us he was just ready to begin writing his book. And then, 2 years after that, he apparently committed suicide. Of course, Ann Druffel explains all of that in her beautifully written Firestorm book about McDonald. We're still in contact with Ann. She's like 92 now, but... Yeah, she's kind of failing, I think, physically, so I've been sending her emails and phone calls, but she hasn't responded back. I talked to her about 6 months ago, and she seemed pretty well then. She was working on a memoir about her own life, as a matter of fact.
Oh, that would be wonderful. She is an amazing woman and did so much to preserve McDonald's memory. Firestorm is another recommended read for your library.
If I had one great UFO book to take with me to a desert island, it would be that one alone.
Well, mine might be Mysteries of the Skies. I don't know. I'm just saying that. Or special
maybe
effects.
Something from Beyond the Earth. It's a great book, guys. Read it. You'll love it.
I've got mine on order.
Well, fantastic. Fran Ridge told me today he got his on order as well. So you and Fran are the first two that I know of to buy the book.
That's so awesome. I am really excited. It's been fun to see. Barry introduced the two of us, Gordon, a few months ago, and you were on the show, and we've been communicating. It's been so fun just to see how hard you've worked to get information out there, and it's also you've had some exchanges because you've got a big email list, and I want to talk about this, but with Dr. Jacques Vallée, who's one of just my heroes. I have every book in my library. And he, you had an exchange, and if you wouldn't mind just elaborating a little bit about the gist of that exchange, I think that would be good for our listeners.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll see what we can do.
So he felt that, this is my impression just from remembering this off the top of my head, he felt that there were very similar parallels to the government infiltration of Nicap and what we're seeing in present day. And I might be going a little bit further out there, but I think that was the gist of what I got from that. And so what are your thoughts? Because you've this is somebody who's very important to both of us and very important in the field. And when he calls attention to that, I think that's something that we need to take seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, he said that I think the gist pretty much of the emails was that he couldn't really understand why Kehoe and Hall and whatnot, the other people there, and this was at the same time I was trying to persuade both of them that that we've been infiltrated and looks like it may be a CIA takeover, and both Dick Hall and Kehoe were just didn't think that was the case, but Vallée said that he sort of implied that the CIA or somebody in the government was trying to redirect Nicap's position, and but he didn't go into a lot of detail about it.
No, he didn't. I would love. Yeah,
you have all the emails there. I'm trying to find them now, but
I think that it's just important to show to let people know that there are other people who've dedicated decades to this that are stepping back and looking at the larger picture. And I think Fran Ridge is one of those people. I think a lot of people are now just kind of scratching their heads and saying, "Whoa, what's happening?" Historically what happened, and now what's happening currently. And I think that's what we need to be aware of, especially because, like I mentioned before, we're losing an older generation, and the history is going to be swept under the rug, and people will not be able to learn from the history and see that, yes, very early on, there was a vested interest, which there still is, to get data and then to keep the public calm, or to maybe instill a sense of panic or fear. I mean, they're working this, and I'm not sure what. I think there are different agendas and different groups, but we have to be aware of this. This is still happening, probably more so now than it was then.
If I could say what I know about the CIA, I don't like to, like I said, I was a visitor at Nicap, so I can't talk about that, but I can talk about the CIA.
That would be great.
I have over 1,000 intelligence products that I want to get my hands on.
Wow.
Some of them are UFO reports that are not in Blue Book, and some of them are, I don't know if they contain reports or not, but they're a possible thing, like reconnaissance, weather reconnaissance and other reconnaissance flights over Pacific and Atlantic and into Chinese or into the Sea of China and things like that. I would like to get my hands on those things. Now, I do have a list of about 750 Air Force intelligence reports. Some of them are in Blue book. I've been trying to, cross-reference to find out which ones are not. But I've got a list of 750 that I've made from my research. Actually, going back to the ghost rockets, the CIA, or the predecessor, the CIG, the Central Intelligence Group, got most reports in multiple copies. After 51, the Air Force made it a point that the CIA would get every UFO report that they got. That was formal.
That's what I kind of heard myself, yeah.
Okay, so if it was a formal report, not necessarily, somebody write them a letter, but if it became a formal report, they got a copy of it. They got 5 copies of it. The NSA got 3 copies. The Navy got 2. The Army got 1. It went to about 30 different agencies in the government, each one of these reports. I have I can demonstrate that the CIA got hundreds of reports in multiple copies from 51 to 60, because I have either the distribution lists, or I have where they were accounted for on index cards who got the report. Many of these, I can't say how many yet, because I'm still trying to go through this and do this, but I'd say a few hundred do not show up in Blue Book. Now, the other thing is the CIA, it's called the Central Intelligence Agency for a reason. They're supposed to be able to find intelligence that they've been given centrally. It's a central clearinghouse. They have to have access to everything right away. But when they went, when they put in the FOIA for the CIA documents, they only found 900 pages. Now, I can assure you that there's more than 900 pages were given to them by the Air Force and by the Navy too. I have a few intelligence reports from the Navy, and they also gave the CIA UFO reports in multiple copies, just like the Air Force.
Oh, and that's interesting. We've got to take a break. We've got to talk more about this, because they're obviously... Oh, we've got so much to talk about. I can't even believe it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm here with Gordon Lohr and Jen Aldrich. This is an historical show, I will tell you. I hope you're listening, and I hope you do research on everything we're talking about. Get the information out there. I'm Erica Lukes. We will be back with the second hour right after this break.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at UFOclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.
This landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico. The rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazil was the man who discovered the saucer.
What I thought was a star began coming in my direction at a very rapid rate of speed.
The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Oh, welcome back, and things are going to get spicy this next hour. I am here with two veterans in the field, Gordon Lohr, who was Vice President, Assistant Director, and Secretary Treasurer of the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, known as Nicap. You can go visit Nicap's website now. Fran Ridge, who is in charge of Nicap and has done a great job with MADAR, which is a detection device. I've got one that I'm looking at right now that we're working worldwide with this network to obtain data and then correlate it with sightings reports that are coming in. Very cool. So Nicap is still functioning in a new role. I'm also here with Jan Aldrich, who has been on the show before and has a lot to say because he's researched this and is one of the most important archivists and preservationists in the world. When I look at Barry Greenwood and I look at Jan, I am stupefied. And I want to say to each and every one of you listening, we each have a responsibility to get involved in this. And if we don't get out there and make connections and meet people that are researching in our own area and figure out how to preserve their research, we are going to be in a world of hurt. So each and every one of you, get out there, make a difference, connect, find a place, find a home where we can share data and research and move this subject forward. That's what Jan and Barry have taught me. So with that long-winded intro, Jan, talk again. You were mentioning the distribution list, the clearinghouse, the CIA. Continue. Let's go back to that conversation.
Well, the Air Force, when they got an intelligence report in, they not just UFOs. Every intelligence report they got, they gave it a serial number, and they also indexed it. So they have an index. So every intelligence report, and there's millions of them, are indexed. So I have some of the indexes. And on the index cards, it tells you where they went. And the CIA is, if it's a UFO report, and it had a serial number, it went to the CIA. But I have hundreds of these. I have over 1,000 of them. That's why I said I have 1,000 intelligence products that I want to see. But I have quite a few things that are definitely, it says that the CIA got them. And when they came up with the paltry 900 pages that they had, that's, unfortunately, that's not the truth. They've got them. They've got them somewhere. And it's the Central Intelligence Agency, so they should be able to get it. Otherwise, what are we paying them for? If they can't lay their hands on this thing, they're supposed to be the Central Intelligence Agency. So this is and they're not the only ones. Like I say, the Navy, Air Force, or the different agencies within the Air Force, the Army, even in some cases, the British, the Australians, and the New Zealanders got copies of these reports. Now, to go to the other side, Keogh had a guy in the Directorate of Intelligence, Air Force Directorate of Intelligence, that occasionally slipped him reports.
Who was that? Do you know?
Yeah, I've got his name here somewhere. Keogh was going to put it in Flying Saucers Top Secret, and the guy asked him no, don't put him in there. I'm still on active duty. So Keogh wrote a letter to Putnam and Sons, and I've got a copy of the letter. And now the same thing happened with Captain Bob White, who was the spokesman before NICAP for the Air Force, and he slipped Keogh stuff too, and he was the spokesman, and Keogh was going to put in Flying Saucers Conspiracy that Captain Bob White believed in UFOs, and Bob White said, "Look, I'm retiring. Just don't do that, huh?" So he wrote Henry Holt and told him, "Please take Bob White's name out of there."
Wow.
If you read Flying Saucers Top Secret, there's a thing in there where you got a Air Force transport aircraft flying over the Pacific, and they saw these flares or flashes of light, and the pilot said, I thought we had been fired on, but it wasn't like any flak I've ever seen before." Now, Project Blue Book doesn't have that case in there. However, Keogh got a copy of that case file, and it's serial numbered and everything. So the CIA and everybody else got a copy of that case file. The thing in his book is just like it's copied right out of off the intelligence report. So occasionally Keogh got stuff slipped to him. Now, Isabel Davis and Ted Blocher and Alexander Mabane, Hynek would slip them stuff. So it went both ways.
Yeah.
And like I said before, there were people in the government that didn't toe the Air Force line. Dick Hall got a call from the State Department, and they said, "Hey, we're helping these two Argentine TV producers making a TV documentary about UFOs. Could you see them?" And so the State Department guy brought them over. When they came in, they had identification that they were Argentine Air Force intelligence officers. And the reason that they wanted to talk to Dick Hall is because they were having a UFO flap in their country, and they wanted assistance. They wanted to say, "Hey, how can we set up something like Nicap, like the subcommittees they have?"
Do you recall what year that was?
I think it was 64, early 65.
Yeah, it was a little bit before I came. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So that was, and then after that, the embassy started sending them translations of newspaper articles to Nicap. They translated them from Spanish to English and sent them to Nicap. And they also sent them some reports, which were in the UFO evidence. And then the Argentine Navy got involved because they started working with Nicap too. So that was.
And I think, Jan, I wanted to say this because there are two sides to this story. And the one thing that I have seen, and I just want to throw this out there in the UFO community, is so many people have this distrust of the government. And, you see some of these weird, I fully believe, especially given the things that I have in my archive from the 40s on, that there has this subject has been really ripe for the picking with people that have political agendas that are trying to steer a narrative and almost create more distrust in the government than there really needs to be. I think that, the government is comprised of individuals just like us, and we have differing opinions, and we know that it is very compartmentalized, and, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. And so are there people inside the CIA or the FBI or the DOD that have different agendas? Of course there are. And so that's why you see different factions or different groups of people who are trying to get information out that are thwarted by another group. And you see all of this game playing. So I think it's really, really important. And I want to stress this to my listeners. I would never say that I distrust the government. I think that there are some things that need to be questioned. And that's why I work in a community level to affect change. And I also, do this, but I don't want to be one of those people that is out there supporting anarchy or trying to put anybody in intelligence in harm's way. And I just want to say that.
Very good. Well, very well put. I agree with that, indeed. Yeah, I could read this letter because what you just said, of course, kind of corresponds to that. Can I go ahead and do that?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. Well, as I said, I was spent nearly 4 years as a member of the White House Press Corps from 71 to 74, and my main sponsor for the National Press Club was Sarah McClendon, who spent 50 years covering the White House and was known as the Dean of White House Correspondence, and my secondary sponsor was Dan Rather. And I asked Sarah during one of our White House visits if she thought Nixon knew of any ET presence. She replied that she had no doubt of it, but didn't provide any real details. And then nearly a quarter of a century later, in March 1998, Sarah issued the following press release. She said, quote, "The real danger to the U.S. and perhaps this whole planet is that the government has placed such a heavy blanket of secrecy upon this issue. Those in government who have knowledge showing UFOs are identifiable feel the subject cannot be discussed by those in the know without serious repercussions. Others are afraid their friends and co-workers will think they are crazy if they even so much as insinuate that UFOs are identifiable manned craft from outside the Earth. This particularly applies to newspaper editors and publishers, reporters and analysts. Thus, the U.S. is denying itself the chance to learn more about UFOs or to encourage research, despite the fact that the U.S. stands to gain from such discussions. Not publicized, but true, is that the Clinton administration, soon after coming to office, had many briefings on the subject. Lawrence Rockefeller provided the information for the president and Mrs. Clinton. Others provided documents and verbal briefings to presidential advisors and Vice President Al Gore. Hundreds of others who have worked in secret defense and scientific agencies are willing to swear under oath that alien craft are repeatedly penetrating our airspace. That's the bulk of it, but it stops, I think, just short of saying that ETs have made personal contact with one or more of our presidents, either directly or through other high-ranking officials. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
That is very interesting.
Too, by the way.
And we're all excited to see the book, to have it, and I need to get a signed copy from you. That would mean the world to me.
Much. Well, after the show, we'll discuss how we can do that.
Oh gosh, I'm just, again, I'm thrilled for you, and I want to say I've learned so much from both of you that it's been one of the blessings and honors of my adult life to sit back and every day have a conversation with all of you, and then to learn more. And I really am blessed, and I will say that.
Well, thank you, but don't sell yourself short, because you've done a remarkable job in keeping it out there and honest, and you're doing wonderful. I'd like to hear a little more about your sighting at Skinwalker Ranch too.
Oh, that was incredible, and I'd love to share that. I was at a certain vantage point, and I got out of the car. I was with another person, and we set up our equipment, and I noticed that there was a light that was shining up from the ground that was moving across the mesa, and it was incredible. But then there was another component to that, where there was something that we, felt was moving towards us, illuminated around us. It was really one of those things we have to step back, and I really at this point want to be so critical of this, because I don't want to put out any information that would be I want to put it through the paces. And so that's why I've reached out to people who are excellent researchers and actually people that are involved currently at the ranch, just to make sure I can corroborate what I was seeing, because I'm not, that my work is too important to me. So I'll be doing that and then publishing the results and perhaps talking about what I experienced and the results in my new documentary, which will be important. So I look forward to that.
Fantastic. So was the light significantly off the ground when it was doing this, or and it sort of spread across the sky, something like that?
No, this was definitely on the mesa, and it was on the ground.
On the mesa. Okay.
Yeah.
And you didn't hear anything, right?
You know what, it was when I felt this was approaching, when we both had moments when we couldn't hear any sound around us, and there were drops in the temperature that both of us felt.
Wow.
It was one of those experiences that you just sit there with, just in awe, But I will say that there was never a point in time when I felt threatened, which is important to note, because we hear so many times about how threatening and menacing this can be, specifically with regard to Skinwalker Ranch. And I have to throw out there, perhaps it's the person having the experience, or there's just something more going on. So again, this is a learning process for me.
Yeah.
But
well, I've had a couple of years. Well, I could briefly go over my sightings with you, perhaps this show or a future one.
Yeah, no, I would love to hear, because you've had some interesting experiences, and Jan, you've had early in your life, you had an experience as well. So it would be great to have little snippets about what you experienced.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about Jan as well. It's good. All right.
Yeah, Jan,
are we ready for a break again?
You know what? No, we're not quite yet. But Jan, let's go to you, and do you mind sharing with us what happened and what sparked your interest in this?
Okay, but it's not a UFO. I don't.
Well, that's okay.
It was when I was in junior high. This is why I got interested. We had a snowstorm with lightning and thunder, which is kind of unusual. I went out and shoveled snow. I came back. I was making some cinnamon toast. I put it in the oven. And we had a lightning bolt hit the chimney. Of course, it's grounded, so. But I had the radio on, the spark jumped across the stove, and the radio went crazy. And I thought maybe the oven was burned, so I opened up the oven, and inside the oven there's this little ball about as big as a quarter, not on the grate, but over the grate. And when I opened the oven, it started to roll end over end towards me, and it got to the end of the grate and came out a little bit more, and then it just fell down and exploded. It was like a cherry bomb, setting off a cherry bomb inside a house, which is, of course, yeah. And I was so startled, I fell on my backside. Wow. And so when my father came home, he was a research chemist, so I asked him what it was, and he said, "You know that? What? That's what the library's for. Go down there and look it up."
Big help he was.
That's awesome.
So I went down to the library, and I think I found out that it was ball lightning. But what it said about ball lightning was, most scientists don't believe it exists. This is about 1956. The most scientists believe it's an after image of people seeing a lightning bolt. And so I started the big research on ball lightning, and I found out that it had been debunked in 1933 by a Weather Bureau guy, And after he debunked it, no more articles appeared in the United States in the scientific journals about ball lightning. He had thoroughly debunked it. It took
then along came Philip Klass.
No, it took until about the middle of the 50s until people started writing about it again.
That's right.
Anyways, that's how once I started reading about UFOs, I thought that this is the same thing. People are just debunking it without looking at it, and nobody's done a good look yet. I still feel that's the way it is today. Nobody's done a good look yet.
No, they haven't. I want to just, with reference to your ball lightning story, I want to recommend that people get the work of William Corliss, because he did exceptional work documenting different stories about all of this anomalous light phenomena, underground noises, all of these things, and it's a really great thing to have in your library.
William, could you send me an email on that?
Absolutely, yes. Jen,
Yeah, he's got about 20 different books out. They're on all kinds of scientific anomalies. He's like Charles Ford.
I'm not familiar with them. Yeah,
he's
Charles
like
Ford
Charles
too.
Ford, modern Charles Ford.
Yeah, well, Charles Ford goes back to the latter part of the 19th century, early part of the 20th too. But
Yeah, Ford's our father.
Great, or at least great grandfather.
No, and it is interesting though. But I have to say that I encourage people, and I think both of you have an interest that is not necessarily, it's not the UFO subject put in a box. And I think for me, coming into it and being in MUFON and seeing different people with different agendas, and it was like you have to put something that we have no concept of truly in a little box to make it fit neat and tidy. I mean, we won't make any advances unless we're willing to look at the work of Charles Ford or Corliss or other people who are understanding there is more to this than just a little box. I'm Erica Lukes, and we're going to our last break. I'm here with Gordon Lohr, who has a new book out. We'll give you information when we get back, and Jan Aldrich. You can visit his website, Project 1947. Stick around. We will be back.
Stand by. This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes. The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified with Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
1 million miles till midnight. A story of timelines, artificial worlds, simulated races, and the galactic imprint, and the destiny of a blue world called Earth. 1 million miles till midnight, written by Solaris Blue Raven, is a journey through the mind's eye which allows the reader to surf a wave of technological and multidimensional intellect, revealing a bridge between conscious design and the truth. A multidimensional bleed-through awakens the world of artificial intelligence to set sail into the frontiers of a vast multiverse, morphing planets and terraforming ascended worlds beyond the linear programs of a fated race. 1 million miles till midnight will awaken, inspire, prepare, and enlighten one to the many multidimensional states of consciousness and worlds we reside in. With every cell and atom, we are this truth and multiverse. 1 million miles till midnight. Written by Solaris Blue Raven. Available now at Amazon.com. Don't wait. Get your copy today.
It's great.
The all-new KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Great. Please make a note of it. It's great.
If ever a breed was affectionate to a fault, it's the Golden Retriever. They're people dogs, pure and simple. And the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada needs your help. If you would like to volunteer, foster, adopt, or donate, go to the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada's website at grrsn.org. That's grrsn.org. Or call 598-GOLD. That's 598-GOLD.
There is a world outside that which we live in, a realm where fact and fiction collide. The Paradigm Matrix. The Paradigm Matrix. Hosted by Willie Miranda. Every Friday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us, even now in this very room.
The 1 hour show that will surely leave you hanging on the edge of the rabbit hole. The Paradigm Matrix explores a universe of topics from UFOs, cryptozoology, conspiracies, as well as all things paranormal.
Enter a world of the twisted and deformed.
Friday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. The Paradigm Matrix. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network, where fact and fiction collide.
You're listening to
UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts!
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
Welcome back, and this has been an eventful show. This is one for the memory books, and I hope that each and every one of you who listens to the show really goes back and does some digging, because like I mentioned, and I mentioned in the segment before last, I spend a lot of time researching people before I bring them on, researching subjects, because I understand that there are things going on behind the scenes and things that we need to understand. And we are this close to losing everything historically. We've got this new generation coming into the field who doesn't care about the history, who is being, thanks to YouTube, led down a path of delusion and disinformation. And it's really, in my opinion, quite a dangerous time. So I want to stress to people that you need to do your background research on people who have dominated Facebook groups, people who are trying to steer the narrative and are very active in giving their opinions. Look at their political agendas. Are they steering the one world narrative? Or are they trying to tell people that the government is bad and fake news and blah, blah, blah? I mean, there's some serious stuff going on, and I've been doing a lot of research. And I want to tell you that I care enough about this subject and all of you that we need to take a critical look at what's going on. My guests tonight, Gordon Lohr and Jan Aldrich, have been there. They've lived through the history. They're here to tell us so we can learn from their wonderful accomplishments, and then also look back and let them give us advice on how to move forward with discernment. So, Jan, both of you, thank you so much for being here and teaching us what you have to share. So let's continue where we left off at the last break. So, Jan, yes, go ahead.
I think I mentioned something about Brad Sparks.
Yes, and and I want to just tell people, a lot of people, because Brad Sparks is such an underground researcher, they don't know about him, but he has done methodical, intense research for quite some time. So, Jan, continue about what Brad, the connection or the thoughts he had on the CIA.
Well, absolutely.
He's not Donald. He's not Robert Todd, but sometimes I think I'm talking to Robert Todd when I talk to him. But I would. He has a rather interesting perspective on the Robertson panel. Of course, Robertson, after the panel, became the chief Air Force advisor. And Robertson more or less ran the panel. We have Dr. Thornton Page's notes, and at one point, Page was making light of the whole subject, and Robertson said, you know, Robertson is a Nobel Prize type. He could have won the Nobel Prize, and he actually did some stuff during the Second World War that was quite dangerous, personally dangerous. And he just told Page, "Shut up, Page," when he was making light of the whole subject. But I think Robertson steered the thing away from the CIA, and the Air Force was really angry in 1952-53, really angry about the CIA coming into their bailiwick. Brad interviewed Colonel Wendell. Anyways, he interviewed like the number 3 man in Air Force intelligence, and he said, even after years after this had happened, this guy was still angry about the CIA trying to come in and take over UFOs from the Air Force, and he said he was still angry. You could hear it in his voice.
Boy, yeah.
So, Brad's theory is that the Robertson steered the panel so that the CIA wanted to launch an investigation involving MIT, and Robertson steered the thing around to debunking UFOs and more or less sinking an overt entry into the subject by the CIA. In the Science Historical Group, which is on the Project 47 website, if you go to the historical the conference we had in Chicago, Brad has written an article about Ruppelt. Now, he has some rather harsh things to say about Ruppelt. I don't know if I agree with him. Brad and I disagree all the time, and we just end up saying, "Okay, well, your idea." But he's a very good researcher, and he's got me things that I've never seen before, and I think the same with me. So I do respect his opinion on this. Like I say, he did talk to a number of CIA people and a number of Air Force people that were involved in the early 50s. He was doing it for NBC, and so he has all the tapes. So it's very enlightening. And he's writing a book, and he's been writing a book for about 20 years. But that's his opinion. Now, right now, I subscribe to it because I think he's made a pretty good argument for it. But, tomorrow something else will come up, and maybe it's the wrong thing, and that's the way I work.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, and Brad Sparks is, and I really encourage people to go visit your website and read what Brad has to offer. I mean, I would, and I've asked, I think both you and Barry about trying to get him on the show, and that would be probably the seventh sign of the apocalypse, but it would be really great to have him on to expose people to his work. So work on that, Jen.
And all that's on your website.
His article about Ruppelt is there, and it does mention it mentions his work on the Robertson panel is not up there, but it does mention some of it.
Right. Good. Yeah. Right. Right.
He had a near fatal accident, so he's still recovering. But he might be able to be on there. I'll ask him.
That would be great. How long ago was that?
Oh, it's almost a year now. He's been having trouble recovering.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was
what kind of accident was it? Car? Or?
It was a pedestrian walking across the street, and the car hit him.
Oh wow.
Oh my God.
You know how everybody's looking at their cell phones now and not looking at the road.
I know exactly. Yeah. The law gets it here in California, but you still see hundreds, thousands of people still doing it.
Well, we're more and more in a trance every day. Technology. We don't look up. We don't, connect with people.
I know.
It's a blessing, but it's also, I think, a kind of a downfall of where we're headed. But I want to, because we've got just a few minutes left in the show. Since both of you have been in this for so long, do you feel like as you have progressed in your knowledge level, do you feel like you've gained more clarity on what we're dealing with, or do you feel like it's more puzzling?
Well, both. Both. It certainly gets to be puzzling. Because, back in the day when UFOs were coming in fast and furious, I remember staying up late into the night, about 1967, doing the flap there, talking to radio stations and reporters from virtually all over the world. I don't know. I don't think that's happening now, but back then we thought, my God, it couldn't be long before they make themselves known, or the government does, but we're still going on 50 years later, So who knows, really?
And so, Jen, what do you think? Yeah, you've got no question that there's something profound. You've seen this. You've had paranormal experiences, which you mentioned on the last show. You've had UFO experiences. I mean, this has affected you. And
exactly. I've had 3 sightings of my own, and they were all before I joined Nicap. In fact, I sent the last 2 to Nicap, and they were both in 1958. The first one was 1955. So.
And that's incredible. And Jan, what do you feel? Do you feel like you've progressed in your knowledge? Have you become frustrated? What do you think at the end of the day?
Well, Tom and I interviewed Ted Blocher, and he said when he more or less got out of the subject, he said he got this case in New Jersey, and it was like, he said, it looks like I was in this movie theater for a long time, and now it's starting again. The movie's starting again, so this is where I came in. Well, that's the way I feel, too.
Oh, my God. So, interesting. So what did he think? Some kind of
that's one of the reasons he got out of it. Of course, I feel the same way, but that's not the reason I'm not getting out of it, because I think it's, there's still stuff to find out. There's still
absolutely, yeah.
Everything we think we know, we might not. I'm willing to change my mind all the time.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, I went on to other things, too, for about 30 years, and then got back into it, really, when I wrote my book, Connections, last year, because a whole chapter in that is about my experiences with Nicap and U4, and then since then, I gathered the information. Just about all the information I have comes from my own files, particularly from Nicap and U4, but as you may know, in 1969, when we felt that Nicap was going under fast, Ted Blocher and Don Berliner and even Isabel Davis and Dick Hall and myself were wearing out the Xerox machine to get as many copies as we could of some of the Nicap files. We even got some original files that we kept, and I was talking to Barry Greenwood before about donating them to you guys, when I get my files straightened out, so you can keep them in perpetuity, because you guys have done such a wonderful job in just collecting all that stuff. And it's very important we keep it for future generations.
Absolutely. And this is the one thing I will say about Barry and Jan is they have a vested interest in getting this information out to the public. And
exactly.
I think that's
too, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's critical, because I think there are definitely people involved now in the field that are trying to gather data. They don't necessarily want it to be available to the public, and we need to be aware of that, because we, at the end of the day, we are having the experiences, and I really believe we are the ones who will make a difference in how this is remembered, how we share the human experience. And this is just, it's too important to be brushed under the carpet again, decade after decade. I firmly believe that.
Undoubtedly, yes.
And so, Jan,
we're trying to scan everything we can. That's the bottleneck there.
And so tell us about that, Jan. Like, what when you go out? I mean, you have now the liberty. You're just retired, and you are going to be going out and doing scanning, and this is something that you have done, your whole adult life. But tell us what that entails.
Well, I am visiting someone that got a couple of well-known UFO investigators' files, and I sort of invited myself down to his house, but I've been exchanging material with him for years now. And
can you share with us who that is?
Well, I'd rather not put him on the spot on the radio unless he, wanted to. It's down in New Mexico.
Problem.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah, I was a state director for New Mexico back in the Walter Andrus days in the 70s, when I lived there.
So, and I'm going down to the Roswell Museum because they have picked up a number of UFO collections. They have George Fawcett's, and they have Gordon Lohr, but they've also picked up some collections from Ohio. And
that's true. They're going to be displaying my new book as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have a huge library. People don't realize how much stuff they have down there.
Can imagine.
I've already been down there 3 times, and each time I come back with some material.
And
the bottleneck is getting this scanned.
Right.
Once you get it scanned, it can go everywhere.
So,
do you know Michelle there at the library?
No, I don't.
Oh yeah, she's in charge.
It was
of the
Carrie when I was there the last time.
I got you. All right.
So, and I have to interject here because this is important. So, with regard to the Len Stringfield files that MUFON has at the headquarters office, and they've got people paid there to sell T-shirts and do different administrative duties, and if not yet scanned the Len Stringfield files, are you going out there to do that, and what access will they let the public have to those files?
I don't know. Unless somebody tells me specifically, I can't share it. I try to, share things, and that's the whole reason of getting it in digital form so it can be shared. I did some. I talked to them to MUFON, and they said, "Yeah, come on out, and we'll see what we can do." So that I intend to do that. That's one of the trips I intend to make. But I also want to do some actual research, which would mean going to the National Archives and pulling through files there. And there's plenty to do there. Let me tell you.
Yes. Yeah, I've
got all kinds of things lined up if I can get down there for about a month or so that I can keep busy. Probably keep busy.
Yeah, I know.
Years.
Lynn Stringfield sent me a bunch of his crash and retrieval cases, which I have capsuled in my book here as well. Yeah.
And this is, I really want to again stress to people, which I do in all of my lectures, and I will be speaking in Michigan at UFO Con there on the 21st of September, and then I'll be in Irvine, California in October speaking. But I always mention you, Jan. I always mention Michael Swords, Barry, all of the people that have been really working for decades to preserve history. And the thing I love about both you and Barry is you're willing to put it out there on the websites and to preserve this. So I wanted to say that I commend both of you, because there are people that, you look at different researchers all over the country, and it's like, to some of them, it's like you just, it's like an ego thing. It's like, I need to have all of these files, and at the end of the day, it almost seems like, I've got a bigger truck than yours, and this is an ego thing, and they're not willing to share information. And for me, I am opening a center for people that want to learn, and hopefully if another researcher from a different part of the country were to call me and say, hey, I need A, B, C, and D, I would be willing to do that. And I know that, Jan, both you and Barry are, and that's a really critical thing.
And maybe you should add a third person to that, Fran Ridge, as well,
Oh, Fran Ridge is, again, he's one of my heroes. And he has been on the show. I think he's been on the show 3 times now. And in fact, I talked to him today about Madar, and then also about the intelligence community, what his thoughts were with the demise of Nicap in that era. And
I know. And I had the pleasure of working with him as the head of our Indiana subcommittee back in the 60s as well. And
wow.
Just only about a year or so ago, got back in touch with him. So, yeah.
Isn't that wonderful?
I know.
We need to plan something where all of us get together and document that. Wouldn't that be fun? Maybe Jan, we could get Barry out, and we could all meet and then have a new group of people who are vested in sharing information, and people that actually have women involved. That would be great, because we need to encourage women in the subject as well. Like Isabel Davis, she was amazing.
Right. I know, but she's no longer with us. Of course.
She isn't, but and I, on my own, I just have to throw this out here. As a woman, I've seen a lot of just discrimination, and this is a good old boys club. But I know that both of you.
I remember going with Dick Hall to Isabel Davis's apartment in New York before she moved to the Nicap, to D.C. to be with Nicap for a while, and we had to climb up 3 stairs because there weren't any elevators in those old walk-up buildings back then in New York. And I'll tell you, you talk about in a fairly small apartment, every corner was just stuffed with UFO files all over the place. She had a remarkable collection, she really did. And I worked with her for a couple of years when she was with us at Nicap. Dick Hall brought her down, and she worked with us for a couple of years there.
And how wonderful. And I think that's important. I think that we need different people in. We need a younger generation. I've mentioned this a million times because all of us here know that that's critical, and we need to get women involved in the field. And from personal experience, like I will say, this is a good old boys club, and that needs to stop. And I thank both of you for understanding that's been the case and trying to work on that and get new people involved. And just to say again, congratulations, Gordon. You have a brand new book that you just received today in the mail, Flying Saucers from Beyond the Earth, a UFO Researcher's Odyssey. You can get this at bearmanormedia.com, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, but you have done so much research. You are one of the few that has been in there and seen the games, the intelligence infiltration, for better, for worse, all of the above.
Right,
and so your perspective is critical, and strange effects from UFOs. That's another one that I've got in my library. I love it. And Jan, you have done so much for this subject as well. You're scanning, preserving history, Project 1947, and all the great articles. I love it. I'm honored to be friends with both of you.
Well, we're honored, I'm sure, to be friends with you. You've done a remarkable job yourself in keeping this whole thing alive and well.
Well, I just like you, there's something, and I think from my own personal experiences, but then just there's something that has kept me going, and it's been, I can't explain it. Maybe my experience at Skinwalker Ranch or last weekend. I mean, that's why I keep going. But we're at that point in time where we can be told that this is a negative thing, and we can be influenced and think that this is a threat, and we need to weaponize and do some of the things that we're seeing now, or we can be empowered.
Right. Well, we're all searchers for the truth, and sometimes the truth is hard to find.
Absolutely, but we'll keep on keeping on. We are getting ready to close the show out. I want to thank Gordon Lohr and Jan Aldrich for being here. Willie Miranda is up next. Next Friday, I will be here with Barry Greenwood, who has got new reports from his time at the Center for UFO Studies. Stick around for a great night on KCOR. Thanks for being here. You guys rock. Keep on keeping on, and we will catch you next week.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at ufoclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 50.